Tips for course creators. So in today's podcast, what I want to look at is some common things that you should make sure of when you have your courses or your pages set up on whatever platform you're using. Now, I'm paying particular attention to Zenler, so that's zenler.com, and the reason being is that I see these things happening with lots of our existing instructors. So one of the main things is to check through every single page. Now, this doesn't matter whether it's Zenler or any of the other platforms that you're using. Normally the pages will be set up for you by default, but these are basically templates. So most platforms expect you to go in and check the text and make sure that it's relevant for your actual brand and your courses. So you need to be aware of this. So this is like tip number one, is to make sure you go through all of the pages, and that's all of the pages. We're talking about the privacy, cookie policy, the subscribe pages, the unsubscribe pages, and make sure that it has got your brand on there. Make sure that all of these pages are branded as well. Now, tip number two is to go through your whole site and check that all of your links work inside of the site. So this is the site pages and, of course, any courses that you've got set up as well. So sometimes you might actually need to go in there as a test student. So this is tip number two. Just make sure that there's no unbroken links. Now, when does this happen? This happens a lot when someone's joined a new platform and then they've upgraded and they've changed their URL to their own custom domain or subdomain. This is when links can be broken within the site. So just make sure, especially when you're making these big changes like changing the domain name, okay? So tip number three, what we're going to look at here is making sure and testing as a student. So you should be testing all of your courses as a student. You should be testing any lives before you start. You know, in most platforms, you can clone the live that you set up. You can set it for an earlier date and you can just test that it's all working. You could also test that with a friend as well. Send them the link, tell them to come in there, make sure the recordings are working on everything. This is a really important one. Tip number three is testing everything thoroughly. The amount of times that we have seen users say, it's not working, I'm going live in 2 minutes, or I didn't record properly. And these kind of things happen all the time. Now, of course, from time to time, these things are going to happen, but you need to test. You need to be testing these things. If you don't, you're going to encounter these kind of problems that can occur. Okay, tip number four, buy your course. When you set up your payment gateways, you want to make sure that the payments are going to go through correctly. Now, if you don't want to pay the full, remember that if you pay for something, you can refund yourself from the payment gateway. So with Zenler in particular, we have Razorpay, we have Stripe, and we have PayPal. So all of these you can refund yourself. So if you buy a course for £1,000, you can refund that money back once you've tested it's all working. All right, so there's no problem. You're not charged any fee for a refund back to yourself, so it's all fine. So this is a massive tip. So tip number four is that, making sure that you're testing and checking your payments are all working. Remember, this is the main part of your business, taking the money side of things. So tip number five is, when you've got everything set up, make sure that you're marketing your course fully. Okay. Now, I've fallen into this trap many, many times, where you're excited to get on to the next course and you don't fully market the course that you just finished. Now, this is a typical thing that can happen because you might have worked on that course for like a few months, you know, and you're kind of like, oh God, I just want to finish this course now. I've just got to get this course out there. And then you just do a few little socials. In fact, sometimes you do nothing at all and you're like, right, I'm on to the next one. I'm super excited. Because remember, it wanes off as you start working on things and you lose that motivation and you're thinking of the next project. So what you should be doing is marketing that initial one to the fullest. Try to get re-excited about the course. Think of the course as, right, I've done it. Now I'm launching. I'm super excited to get it out there. So tip number 5 is make sure you market your course to the fullest. Okay, and keep marketing that course. Even when you're starting the next course, keep marketing that course. Keep bringing people in there. So tip number 6 for you is about some sort of way of bringing leads into your membership site or your course. This is a really big one. So there should be some sort of funnel set up. There should be some sort of opt-in page that you've set up on your site that you're actually driving your leads into. Okay, so you can market that. You can continually market that. And normally there would be a freebie given away with that as well. This could be 5 tips or something like that. So this is a really important one for you to make sure that you are actually have something or some way of getting leads into your site. Don't just rely on your courses to get people in there paying. You want to be getting leads in to convert them into sales. So this is tip number 6. So tip number 7. This is really important. Make sure that you have analytics set up on your site. So have some way of tracking how many people are visiting your site. This is a really, really important one. You need to have that. You need to be submitting your results into or your new pages you set up into search engines for your search consoles and things like that. So don't just rely on Google. There's lots of other search engines out there that you can also submit your site to as well. Most platforms have sitemap creation, so you should better submit a sitemap. So that is tip number 7. So tip number 8. Set up some sort of blog or podcast, these kind of things to, again, drive excitement and engagement and use that as a marketing tool. So blogs are really good because it sets up lots of pages for you. It's lots of content and people follow you based on that. But not only blogs, we're also talking about landing pages. So set additional pages that are self-contained. They are alone pages, standalone pages, and they have a link to get them into the site. Now, why are we setting up lots of landing pages or what's often called hook pages? We want to do this because we want to drive the traffic and we want to get organic search results coming in there. And we also might want to use those pages to advertise on some of the social channels as well. So make sure that you're doing that. So tip number 9. Keep consistent with your social posts. Make sure that you're posting consistently. Don't post 100 posts and then stop for 2 months and then post another 10 posts and come back in a month. You want to keep things consistent so people know that there's regular content going on to all of your social channels. And finally, tip number 10, don't give up. Be consistent, continue, be motivated, be happy about what you're doing, and engage and talk to your community. Definitely set some form of community up using something like Mighty Networks or Facebook, or even the community built into the system itself. In Zenler's case, we have our own community area that you can set up, which is a private area, and many people prefer to be in a private area rather on Facebook or even some of the other social sites. They prefer to have it all in one platform. Remember, you're trying to make it easier for your students. So when they come in, they've got access to everything. They don't need to hop around into different pages or different social sites. They don't have to sign up with different social sites. And, the privacy nowadays with people and, people getting data from you, people are even more, resistant about joining some of the social channels. So you've got to be careful about that as well. You need to make sure it's some sort of private area where their privacy is kept intact. So that's tip number 10. So guys, these tips are really going to help you. Definitely check them out. right? Check these out. Check that you've done all these things. You might well have done all these things, guys, but I guarantee you that a lot of you will not have done these things. It's just common throughout. Been doing this stuff for decades, and it always happens. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and I'll see you soon.